Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. Again, we're gonna get started. Like I said, today the title is the Sabbath and how to operate. Okay. Many people, as we know in the world today, they have a lot of philosophies concerning the Sabbath. Right? Many people say that the Sabbath is the day they can choose when and how they want to worship the Most High or their God. Right? Many people say the Sabbath is on the Sunday, which according to the calendar is the first day. So we're going to break it down from the beginning and just like I said, start from the basics. This lesson will be, as we talked about the other week, a lot of milk. Okay? And we took the fundamentals of the Sabbath. So let's start in Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 through 3. Kyle, when everybody's there. Let's get it.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2, and verse 1. Chapter 2, verse 1. And it reads, Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
Mike, turn that mic off.
Can you put it on mute? The mic. Thank you. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
So the Most High is finished with his work, right? He sanctified this day. He said depart from all other days. It's the Lord's day, as we spoke about many times in class. It's the Lord's day. No man has a right to take what's the Most High and call it his day, or decide what they can do with something that's not theirs. It's the Lord's day. It's the highest day. Okay? It has a lot of significance, this Sabbath. He said it was the what day?
The seventh day.
The seventh day. What day is the seventh day? Saturday, right? So the first day of the week is Sunday. You start with Sunday. Take out the titles of the days. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put the titles back to the days. It equals Saturday. So let no man deceive us on what the seventh day is. It's Saturday, and that's in the same book as we all know. It says evening, morning, the first day. So the Most High days start when the sun goes down. So Friday at sundown begins the Lord's day, the Sabbath. And it goes all the way to Saturday sundown. Okay? It don't stop at 6 o'clock. It don't start at 6 o'clock. It don't stop at 12 o'clock. It don't start at 12 o'clock. It starts when the sun goes down, right? The Most High does things. Come on, brother. He does things so they're apparent, right? At 12 o'clock, is there a change in the night? There's not, right? But there's a difference when the sun goes down, right? It went from light to darkness, an apparent change. So change is beginning something. According to the Most High, a new day. Okay? So, going off of that, many people say that, God changed the Sabbath. Is there anyone in here that has anything to say concerning what they heard concerning the Sabbath or they know about the Sabbath? Raise your hand if you want to add anything that you heard from the church in your former life or whatever. Yes, sister.
I've heard people say.
You speak up. Get the mic.
Yeah. Just flip it to the switch to the top.
I've heard people say, like, oh, Saturday changed Sunday because that's the day we celebrate Jesus' resurrection. That's what they say. Like,
That's what they?
That's what they used to say in
Really?
the Christian church.
That's the first time I heard that one. Wow. I never heard that before. He said he gonna rise on the third day. How do you get the Sabbath on the third day?
That's right.
All right. But let's get it. Let's see if the Most High does change. All right. Let's go to Malachi chapter 3, verse 6.
The book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 6.
Oh,
Later,
yeah, man. Mm-hmm. For the camera's sake, I've been told I forgot to do the introduction. I am Brother Ma'ad, and this is Brother Tyler. We are the Higher, I keep saying church, Awakening the Higher Select Church. Yeah. Keep messing it up. Y'all need to be caring about that.
Yeah.
Get the lesson going. Right after like a ride. Con, when you're there? Yes, sir. So you can start this, boom, boom, and do that. Okay. Let's get it. So let the Most High inform us if he changed or not. Okay.
The book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am Ahijah, I change not.
He says he is Ahijah, he changed not. Right?
Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
He even gives us an example of what would happen if he did change. If he changed his mind on things, Jacob would have been consumed. But he remembered his covenant with our fathers, with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He did not forget, nor did he go back on his promise, because he don't change. He told them what would be, and that's what it's going to be. Okay? Through it all, through all the tribulations and trials, it would be what the Most High said it would be. Okay? Concerning his people and the world. Okay? Let's go to Psalms 33, verse 11. I love the scripture when I'm dealing with people concerning that stuff is done away with or that's not relevant in our day. That I've heard so many times in the world. Well, the Old Testament, that's not relative to our life. You know, the world has changed. The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. Right? Let's get it.
The book of Psalms, chapter 33 and verse 11. The counsel of Ahijah standeth forever.
For what?
Forever.
The change.
It stands forever.
The counsel of Ahijah standeth forever. Right? No man can change what the Most High said. He said his words would not go out of his mouth without certain success. Right? With the Most High purposes and wills, no spirit, no creature, no anything can stop it. That's why he is Ahijah, Ahijah, the God of all gods, King of all kings. Right? Nothing is greater than him. He is the source of all energy, all life. Okay?
The counsel of Ahijah standeth forever, The thoughts of his heart to all generations.
The thoughts of his heart to all generations. Check that out. Does it sound like he changed? Read that part again. I like that.
Con. The thoughts of his heart.
So wait, the thoughts of his heart. Who's in his heart? Who's the apple of his eye?
It's children.
It's Israel, his children, right? His earthly family. So the thoughts concerning the promises he made to our father Abraham and to his seed is to what?
To all generations.
All generations. So that word went out to Abraham and it applies to all their seed, to the consummation of time.
Con.
Right?
The next precept, the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, and verse 8.
I just want to add this in here because during creation, many people think that, it was 6 literal days or it was all these millions of years, whatever they come up with, billion years that the earth been existing. Let's see how long is a day to the Most High. So during creation, right, while he was doing his work, through his son, through his wife, these days were not literal 24-hour day periods, okay? Let's get it. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8.
Con, when everyone's there. And it reads, the book of 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the higher as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.
Read 9.
Verse 9. Ahia is not slack concerning his promise.
Those are the thoughts of his heart, his promises, right? He's not slack concerning his promise. So a day may seem, a year may seem like a long time to us, right? 1,000 years, no man has ever lived it. It seems like a long time to us. The Most High said it's like one day to him, right? So Peter is warning us not to be slack, not to lose our faith in what the Most High promised his children, okay?
Ahia is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
That's part of the counsel in his heart, one of his thoughts that's in his heart. His desire is for his children to listen, to turn back, repent, and be obedient, so he can give them the promise that he promised them. Okay? Let's go to go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 8.
Exodus 28.
20, verse 8. Getting back to the Sabbath.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Now, most of these laws we read in the Bible, the Most High don't say remember them. Why is the Most High saying remember the Sabbath day? Yes.
Because it's in a red.
Yeah, the microphone. She talk like a little birdie.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, sis, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's the day that we're going to be celebrating from this day, from that day to eternity. It's not going to end.
Not really. Okay, that's a good one. You want us got anything to add to it? Why does the Most High constantly remind us to remember the Sabbath throughout the scriptures? Yes.
Because during captivity, we're going to be serving other gods, and we'll forget the
Exactly.
true meaning of the Sabbath and start following their Sabbath or whatever. I don't know exactly how to put it, but during captivity, we'll forget the exact day we're supposed to be serving
Okay,
by listening to other folks.
exactly. Anyone else want to add something to it? Can you get the brother? You say yes? You gonna add something to it?
I was just
okay.
agreeing
Agree with
with
the
Oh, okay, my brother.
That was pretty good.
Okay, awesome. So the brother said that the Most High knew that he would send us off into captivity, and we would serve other gods, and the rulers of our oppressors will teach us lies, right? They would think to change time and laws, so they would teach us against our Sabbath. They would tell us that everything that involves our heritage does not matter. Right? We have the right to decide what we want to do, or have autonomy in our own lives, or whatever. Right? So, Most High said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Keep it holy, right? How do we keep the Most High's holy day holy? That's what we're going to get into today. How to keep the Sabbath holy, right? First of all, as y'all know, holy means to set apart. So we must set this day apart from the other 6 and give it to the Most High and do the things that are pleasing to the Most High only. Okay? Through a lesson, we're going to go into how to function. And we're going to also get into examples of our big brother, Yasha. Right? He's going to show us what the Sabbath really means and how to function truthfully in the Sabbath through his own examples and out of his own mouth. Okay? Let's go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 12. We'll read 12 through 18.
The book of Exodus, chapter 31, and verse 12. And it reads, And the highest spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep.
So truthfully, my Sabbaths you should keep. The word should there, it says should, but it's a commandment. Truly, my Sabbaths you must keep. Okay? Let's go.
For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations.
It's a sign between the Most High and his children throughout all generations. How is it a sign? Would anyone like to expound on how keeping the Sabbath will be a sign throughout all generations between the Most High and his children? Yes. Give it a mic.
Because it's separate, set apart from everybody else.
Give it a mic. They can hear on the video.
Because it's separate, set apart from what the world will be doing.
Exactly. It's separate and set apart from what the world will be doing, right? The Most High, concerning flesh, he gave us a day of rest. Remember, we was in captivity. We're still in captivity, right? So he's given us a day of rest from the labors of captivity, right? Remember, he did all his works and then he rested. So it's also a reminder of captivity, right? It's a day of rest. Because truthfully, Adam's children was not supposed to labor as hard as we're laboring right now. Okay? It's also a day that we are supposed to mentally, spiritually, physically be refreshed. Okay? Let's keep going.
Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you.
So all the other nations will see something different in his children. They're operating differently than the nations. Okay? Remember, the Sabbath is what? Also, it's called something else.
The rest day.
A rest day, but it's also a holy convocation. Okay? Holy Convocation is a day that his children are to gather and read out of his law. So that's why we have church on the Sabbath. It's a holy convocation. And it's a rest day. As the brother said. Okay? Let's go.
Throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am a higher that doeth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to a higher. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
So at this time, our people didn't have to work. They were not, they had just left captivity. He'd given them rest from hard bondage. Right? So now we can't function on the Sabbath being slaves as a free man or a free woman. Right? So there's no excuse for our foreparents to do any work on the Sabbath because they don't have to. They build their own houses and have occupancy. There was no taxes to pay. There was no mortgage. There was no rent. He gave them 6 days to do all they want to do. On that Sabbath day, they must rest and come meet together and read out the law and learn about the Most High. All right? So, for us that's in captivity, how should we function? How should we function? Our generation, being in captivity. Does being in captivity mean we have to break the Sabbath? No? Yes.
Being in captivity.
No, but I need to hear on
Being in captivity.
Is it flip to the opposition?
Okay.
Being in captivity, knowing that we have to provide for our family, so you have to work, but if you can take off that day in any kind of way, then you should, get a job or somewhere you can, work around that.
Excellent. She said, the Most High, knowing that we're in captivity, right, has given us grace. Grace, as we know, is not to sin, right? But he says, if man don't work, a man don't eat. So we have to work. But the Sabbath day is not a day we are to look on the board and see if we can pick that day up. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? It's not for that. Or if you have a job, pray about it sincerely. Ask the Most High if it be a will, if he would do his work and put the spirit in your employer. Seriously, I mean, I haven't seen it done.
I think he lied because it was done, because it happened.
Oh, it's done for you? See that?
That's
what I'm right there. The Most High put his spirit in these task masters, right? And give us that day off. Say what? There we go. But we have to trust in the Most High. He might not do it today, but if he's sincere about it, he'll make it happen. Okay? So let's keep going.
So I got a comment.
You give Brother
So
Mike.
the Sabbath is a day in which we should be reflecting.
Brother, we tapping. I think it's on.
There you
Yeah,
go.
good.
So the Sabbath is a day in which we should reflect upon the rest of the days of the week to see the areas in which we should be improving upon, right? Because all of us, from time to time we sin, and we walk not according to God's laws, statutes, and commandments, right? And so there is a scripture in Isaiah, I believe it's 58:13 through 14, which clearly describes or explains in a better way.
Bro, that's
part of your
actually
lesson?
priest.
Oh, okay.
All praises.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to break that down.
As I told you to say, bring it out.
God.
Yeah, but that's part of the lesson. And actually, bro, when we get there, you grab the mic again and then you expound what you were about to say, okay? Okay. Let's get it.
Verse 16. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant.
So this is a perpetual covenant, right? From generation to generation. It will never cease.
Verse 17, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever.
See, it's not a sign between the Most High and the world. It's between him and his children, the children of Israel. Okay?
For in 6 days Ahiah made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God.
So, written with the finger of God. For all those who don't believe in the Bible, thinks it's not inspired of the Most High. The Most High says written with his finger. Okay? Like I said, let God be true and every man a liar. Okay? And just to expound a little bit more what the brother was saying, as we have said in many other classes, the Sabbath is also a day of reflection of what the Most High has done for us. It's a day that we have to show him that we appreciate his mercy and his grace. Okay? Giving us rest to think about some things. All right? So let's go to Jubilees, chapter 2, verse 1. For all those who don't think that the book of Jubilees is inspired by the Most High, you're going to see it is. It's said that it's written by actually Moses himself. And it's saying basically the same thing that we just read, but in more detail. We're going to start at 2:1, then we're going to drop down to 17. Yes. Chapter 12. No, 13. 13. Huh? 13.
Page 13.
For all those who don't have it, I think you can download it. You can put it on your phone. So pick it for what, PDF?
PDF or a website or something.
Yeah. Everybody there.
Yeah.
2 more precepts, bro, and I want you to get that though, for real.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one of the important things that to take note to, we're about to read Jubilees, is take heed who's talking, right? It's an angel talking to Moses. So we know who that is, right? But the angel is going to express that not only the earthly creation observe the Sabbath, the angels are required. There's 2 classes of angels that are required also to keep the Sabbath, right? So before man was observing the Sabbath, the heavenly realm was observing the Sabbath. So again, how can man change what's going on in the heavens? You get it? Because they have no harmony, no vibration with the heavenly realm.
See, you know,
I
got a point here.
Give the mic.
Bring out a good point too, because I always had a
Get the mic,
problem.
bro.
See, I want to bring out another point and just
Get it.
back off of what you're saying. See, the Christian world, you know, they believe and think that it's okay to not observe the Sabbath because we live in a grace period. Now, of course, I never really understood that because in the dispensation to come, in the millennium, we're going to observe the Sabbath, right? We observed the Sabbath before Christ came. Christ even observed the Sabbath when he was here, right? And we're going to observe the Sabbath during the millennium, right? So the Christian world think that just because we live in a dispensation that not only the laws, but even observing the Sabbath can be done away with. And then all of a sudden, during the millennium, we're going to pick it back up. So, you know, I just have a problem with that because this is the period in which we are to practice, you know, observing the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, right? We don't put them aside and then all of a sudden think that we're going to pick them back up during the millennium. Hello? You know what I'm saying?
The water. The water. You got a comment, sis?
I just wanted to bring that out.
Oh, sis, you need to get on the mic, because remember, we also on YouTube, so you gotta hear y'all too. Yeah. You get it?
No, what I was saying, I don't even seem like I can hear. Can you hear me? Any different? It sounds no different to me. Me and Tony was just
I think
talking
it's,
about that on the way to the store, about that, how, you know, the world do certain things and they think they can do away with it, and then they just gonna miraculously pick it back up.
right.
Like, so it's just that he brought that out, it was just ironic that he did that,
Mm-hmm.
all through the spirit.
Huh, yes. Come on, hear this.
So you're saying this is kind of like practice and grace is there while we're getting it right?
We are to rehearse the righteous acts, right? It's not practice, it's a lifestyle that we get accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
Right. This is our culture, right? As I would say, practice make a better performance. Okay? But this is our lifestyle. Okay? So we're doing what the Most High say do. Okay? Now, you can kind of say practice. Would you say practice, bro?
I just said practice. But it's like you said, it's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? A lifestyle, you know.
That we're continually.
Yeah. And I said that, you know, because the Christian church felt that they could put that away as if, you know, it's not even valid. And then all of a sudden, during the millennium, we're going to pick this stuff back up, right? So there's no break. There's continuity. The Most High is the same today, yesterday, and forever, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I just always had a problem with that. So whether it be a form of practice, right? Because we are to live holy, right? It's a form of practice, right? It's a rehearsal, right? But it's more important. It's more than just rehearsal or practice. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why I always say, you know, the Christianity is just so satanic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's blasphemy against the Most High. You know, that makes no sense, like what the brother brought out. Right? The Most High gave us laws, statutes, commandments to obey by. Then grace came, so you can just wild out and be a willful sinner, and then all of a sudden he's going to rapture you and save you, and then you'll follow these laws. That makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back to it.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 2 and verse 1. And the angel of the presence spake to Moses, according to the word of Ahiah, saying, write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days the Most High Ahiah finished all his works and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages.
Who kept Sabbath?
The Most High.
Okay.
And appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created Salaki.
No,
That's verse 2. Salaki.
jump down to verse 17.
Verse 17.
This is an angel talking about the heavenly realm right now. Okay, let's get it.
And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we shall work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the 7th day from all work. And all the angels of the presence, and all the angels of sanctification, these two great classes, he had bidden us to keep Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth.
See there? Sabbath is kept in heaven and on earth. So like the brother said, ain't no continuity with Christianity is talking about. The angels ain't stopping and waiting for no time period. They keeping the Sabbath every Shabbat. Also, like I said, as in heaven, also on earth. Okay, let's go.
And he said unto us, behold, I will separate myself unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall keep the Sabbath day, and I will sanctify them unto myself as my people.
So the Most High said, not only did he separate a day for himself, he will separate a people unto himself. And he will give them a law called the Sabbath that they will keep with him and his heavenly realm. Okay? So like I said, no man has authority to rule out the Most High. okay, or say, you know, he's done away with what he said done away with, or change his day, or change his law. Nothing. It's satanic for anyone to speak against what the Most High says. That's just what it is. Okay? There ain't no way to say it other than that. It's satanic. It's antichrist. Okay? Let's go.
And I will sanctify them unto myself as my people, and will bless them, as I have sanctified the Sabbath day, and do sanctify it unto myself.
See, he keeps saying he separated it to himself.
Con.
Or as the scriptures say, can a man rob God of a Sabbath day? I pray for that brother. Okay, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Okay.
Even so will I bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from amongst all that I have seen.
See, he has chosen the seed of Jacob, right? Not only did he choose Jacob, but he chose his seed, right? Out of this seed, as we know that word means sperma, right? So his offspring, his bloodline offspring, which our Lord and Savior come from his bloodline, right? The seed of Jacob he has chosen to be a special people unto himself from amongst all mankind. So someone outside of that bloodline who created Christianity has no authority again to tell the seed of Jacob, God's chosen people, what's right and what's wrong and who their God is. Nothing. They are not supposed to educate us on nothing. Because the Most High used his son to say, they are the synagogue of Satan, and they do lie. They are like their father. Their father was a liar in the beginning. He told the first lie, and they act like they do. They have the attributes of their father, and they lie. So that's why we're not supposed to be educated by these people, because they would not tell us the truth. And their father is Satan, so that's why Christianity is satanic. For all those who understand, do your research. Christianity is a Roman religion. And in the book of Acts, it tells us that the Hebrews have customs that are contrary to the Romans. We are not of their term, we are not of them. Our culture is different than the Romans. And we see in the book of Acts how the Romans treated the Hebrews for their culture, for their God. Okay?
There's another thing too that I want to
Give it a mic.
real quick. It's on a deeper level.
Get it.
And that is, you know, when the Most High says that it's going to be a sign between me and you, right? You remember when the Hebrew Israelites was held captive in Egypt, and the Most High sent the death angel, and he told Moses to make sure that the people of Israel marked their doors, the lintel on the door with blood, right? That was a sign. Right? So we're going to experience that again, right? So when the Most High says that it is a sign between me and you, so when this death angel comes back during the tribulation period, and it'll come, that's going to be a sign that this angel is going to, or yes, this death angel is going to see, and he's not going to touch the Most High's people, right? So just keep that in mind, that when we observe the Sabbath, it truly is a sign that is marked on the individual who observes it between the Most High and that believer, right?
End of verse 20, 421. 20. Yep. And have written him down as my firstborn son, and have sanctified him unto myself forever and ever. And I will teach them the Sabbath day, that they may keep Sabbath thereon from all work. And thus he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should keep the Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink, and to bless him who hath created all things.
Read that part again.
Con.
Start at and.
And thus he created therein a sign, in accordance with which they should keep Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink and to bless him.
And to bless the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's included on the Sabbath. We must bless the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Who want to expound on how you can bless the Most High? Y'all bless all these people on the street. You can't bless the Most High? Bless you, brother. Huh?
I can try to turn the whole speaker up, but bear with me. We might have some interference, but it might be good. I might be able to tweak it a little bit.
Hey, Roland, say test.
Test it. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah. That's good right there.
Okay. Might turn this down. Test.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think, blessing the Most High would be, keeping the Sabbath. Yeah, keeping the Sabbath.
Okay, that's one. Yeah, him, sister, behind.
I would say spending time with them, like reading, praying, and worship, rather watching TV, doing what you want to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So another thing that just came to me too, and that is, the Sabbath is a special day which is not only set aside to observe the Most High, because He sanctified this day, but we ought to pray for sanctification and cleansing on this day. And the Most High will grant us that sanctification and that cleansing, and He will give us a new rest or a sanctification that we've never experienced before. See, there's a level of sanctification and cleansing that we have yet to touch, my brother. And all we have to do is just begin to ask for it. We just include it in our prayers.
Christ told us to. Okay. One of the ways we can bless the Most High is like the sister brought out is singing. Singing to the Most High, honoring the Most High, being obedient to the Most High, being thankful to the Most High, speaking to the Most High. Okay? Let's get it.
And to bless him who hath created all things.
See, that to bless him who hath created all things. That's showing thanksgiving.
As he has blessed and sanctified unto himself a peculiar people above all people.
We can look at our own selves and just marvel at how wonderful the Most High is in His intelligence. How He created this human body in its flawed state. Think about it. I mean, you can look at His creation. In this, be marveled at Him. Yes.
We're looking at the animals.
But,
I just was saying how we were looking at the animals and how beautiful they truly are.
They're beautifully designed. Yeah. All His creation is. And that's for us to really understand who our Father is. And like your brother said, go in prayer and not only pray for cleansing, but thank Him and tell Him how marvelously He is. If y'all read through these books, listen to the prophets, listen to how the angels speak of the Most High. They give you a whole paragraph of praise to the Most High. How wonderful He is, how powerful He is, and how loving. That's blessing the Most High. Okay? Yes.
Look at the birds, they sing to him
Every day. Every day. So, Roland, you going to sing a song today? You and my sister right here. She know what I'm talking about. Let's get it. Thank you. Let's get it.
and that they should keep Sabbath together with us.
So with the heavenly ram on the seventh day.
And he caused his commands to ascend as a sweet savor, acceptable before him all the days. There were 22 heads
Now
of
see that? It says, and he caused his commands to ascend as a sweet savor, acceptable before him all the days. So when he see the sign of his children in obedience, right? You understand that? When Most High look down from his throne and see his children in obedience, it's like a sweet savor to him. So, you know, let's get it.
one thing real quick. It just brings a little more light to the scripture that states obedience is better than a sacrifice. Because in our obedience, in our keeping of his commandments, and that's what he likes. When he said, that's our sacrifice. When he said, I don't want your sacrifices of oxen, this and that, your burnt offerings no more. I don't like it. This is what he loves. So
yes.
Verse 23. There were 22 heads of mankind, from Adam to Jacob, and 22 kinds of work were made until the seventh day. This is blessed and holy, and the former also is blessed and holy. And this one serves with that one for sanctification and blessing. And to this, Jacob and his seed, it was granted that they should always be the blessed and the holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he had sanctified and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. He created heaven and earth and everything that he created in 6 days. And God made the seventh day holy for all his works. Therefore he commanded on his behalf that whosoever does any work thereon shall die, and that he who defiles it shall surely die. Wherefore do thou command the children of Israel to observe this day, that they may keep it holy, and not do thereon any work, and not to defile it, as it is holier than all other days.
So that's why the Gentiles teach us the lies about our laws and our Sabbaths, because they have our records. And throughout our records, whenever the children of Israel were disobedient, they came down low. They went into captivity. They were spoiled. They was useless to the Most High. So he stripped them of all their glory and made them a reproach to all nations. And they began to be upon top. So it only makes sense for them to lie about our laws, statutes, and our God. Right? So let's go.
That's been our strategy since we've been, since antiquities or whatever, since we've been thrown out of the nation of our land. That's been the enemy's strategy. And, and that's how they are able to remain on top, because they fear that once we come into the knowledge of who we are, then the Most High's power will come back on his people, and we will be unconquerable, right? And they fear that. That is what they fear the most, right? And that's the only reason why they're in the position that they're in even today. So the moment that the Most High's people are awakened, and we start watching our cadences towards the law, statutes, and commandments, we're unstoppable.
You know what that sounds like to me? The Gentiles have more faith than the Israelites. Because they believe in our God. If they believe in our God and show you that our history is true, that wouldn't be so what the brother said. So they know our history is real. They know our God is the only true living God. They got our records, and that's true history. So that's why I say it's an unwritten law to the Gentiles, never to let these brown people congregate. That's why we can't congregate, because they know our God and they fear our God, believe it or not. Okay?
And whosoever profanes it shall surely die, and whosoever does thereon any work shall surely die eternally, that the children of Israel may observe this day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land. For it is a holy day and a blessed day, and everyone who observes it and keeps Sabbath thereon from all his work will be holy and blessed throughout all days like unto us. Declare and say to the children of Israel.
Now notice how he ain't talking to the world.
Mhm.
The angel is talking about Jacob and his seed. Okay, let's go.
The law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work thereon, which is unseemly, to do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk.
Let's go back on that one. From declare.
Declare and say to the children of Israel that the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts.
In the error of their hearts. Right? Error of our hearts. The Most High, another way we'll call it a vain imagination. Right? In the lust. Right? In the lusts of the heart. Right? Aaron, on this day, Aaron in our heart is putting ourselves, our own will before the Most High. That's why it says to only do the things that, to not do the things that are pleasing to yourself.
Right.
Because that would be the error of your heart. You will put yourself before the Most High and become an idolater. Okay? So,
and that it is not lawful to do any work thereon which is unseemly.
This work is an unseemly work. There's a work that we're going to discover today that's a seemly work. The Most High is talking about an unseemly work that should not be done on this day. But there is work that is done on the Sabbath day that's seemly to the Most High. Okay? Keep that in mind. Let's go.
To do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and in which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwellings. And they shall not bring in nor take out from house to house on that day, for that day is more holy and blessed than any jubilee day of the jubilees. On this we kept Sabbath in the heavens before it was made.
Read that again.
On this we kept Sabbath in the heavens before it was made, known to any flesh, to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed it, but he did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon.
See, so nations have the right to do what they want to do on the Sabbath. Most High didn't give it to them. Right? So,
but Israel alone.
But Israel alone.
Them alone he permitted to eat and drink and to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth.
Eat and drink. Like our grandmamas back in the day cooked that good Sunday meal. It's supposed to be done on Saturday. We want to eat and drink and have a good time on the Sabbath. It's a holy day. Okay? Let's go.
And the Creator of all things blessed this day, which he had created for blessing and holiness and glory above all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Israel as a law forever unto their generations.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 to 32. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse
stop at
33. Yeah, 17 to 33. Yes, sir. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 to 32. Yes.
Excuse me, John, we pass the mic now. The water.
You know, like you said, the Saturday, you like,
You tap the mic. Is it on?
There we go.
how you gonna be there, like, like they used to do it back in the day on Sunday. So, is it considered work, how they used to make the
meals on Sunday too, so we be making the meals like, why the sixth day, we did it the seventh day, we shouldn't be doing all the work on the seventh day.
Exactly. Now, what you would see now is that like the sisters brought food here, right? To like today, there's food that was prepared yesterday, and there's food that was prepared today. Today, as you know, like the priests, we don't have to slaughter animals anymore. But as Christ says that the priests profane the Sabbath every Sabbath, if you want to get technical with the law, because they were doing the work, right? But they were doing the will of the Most High. So if you, my sister, if you prepared a meal and brought it to class, that's a service of God. It's not like you've been at home cooking for your family up on the Sabbath. You're cooking for the holy convocation. The priests, we can't prepare the meals for you today. You know what I'm saying? So the sisters and the brothers who have put their work in and they brought the food is to feed the priests and the children. Huh? Some was not. It's all like for example, if this was in the wilderness, we'd be slaughtering animals right now. Not yesterday, but right now. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. So for holy days, that's why you see people still cooking. But if you feel convicted in your spirit not to do it, that's your right. You know what I'm saying? That's your right. But we have liberty in Christ, where the sisters and the brothers can prepare meals on the Sabbath. Or for example, if we ran out of water or something like that, if we need to go to the store, we ran out of whatever to feed the people, get people drinking, whatever it is, we have liberty to go purchase whatever we need to do for the holy convocation. But I can't go to the store, go and get some water, or if I need some more burners for the food, I can't go and say, okay, I need some toilet tissue, I need some paper towels, I need some milk for the house. I can't do that, but I can only get what's necessary for the service. Yes, sister. So, sister had to come in first.
I was gonna say, about the scripture that talks about not kindling the fire. Because what I usually do, I'll prep the day before or sometimes Thursday, and I'll make like cold cuts or pasta salads or something I can eat on a Sabbath without having to warm it up or turn the stove, to try to avoid.
We're gonna chop wood no more, sister, do the work to start a fire anymore. So, yeah. That's how I started out at first. I was the same way eating cold cuts and stuff like that until I got great kids. The brother wanted to say something.
I was just going to say that when the Hebrew Israelites was in the wilderness, that the Most High required them to work 6 days, and then on the seventh day that they should rest. So on that sixth day, that they were to get up in the morning and go get a double portion of their manna, because they were not allowed to do that on the Sabbath day. So the sister brought out a good point about not kindling on fire on the Sabbath day. Now, and I say that to say that there is a slight limitation. I mean, if you're going to be in service, if you're going to perform a good deed, then for the greater good, then it's allowable, right? So, we can't be so religious that we become no earthly good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We're going to get into that in a minute, too. At the end of it, we'll get to that part. Just for a second, okay, sis?
I was more so referring to what I do at home. Like, I got what you were saying about, doing good on the Sabbath. There's scripture that talks about doing good on the Sabbath, but I was referring to how I do it.
We can get into what it means to do good on the Sabbath. That's what I'm saying. But I was the same way when I first came into the knowledge. All I ate was salads and cold cuts.
Work. Me personally, I have more peace about having it prepared the day before and just chilling.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
You're not talking about cooking for home, right?
No.
You're talking about
For
the holy
the
convocation.
convocation. Yeah. Now, for example, the Most High said it's the time for us to eat and drink, right? So the Most High don't want us to just this is a feast. He wants us to eat no cold cuts on the feast. You know what I'm saying? He wants us to eat. We got some wine in the back, but we're gonna have a good time today. So the Most High is not commanding us to eat cold food. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like this ain't like if this was like back then, me and a couple of these brothers, we could get out cut that wood up and get that fire started. They kept that thing going all day.
That's what I was
Right.
saying. Lots of people who leave their oven or stove on roll over into the Sabbath.
That's
Just because they feel more comfortable.
that's
that
awesome.
way.
That's awesome. Let your conscience commend you or convict you. Okay. Mom, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying also, like you were saying about how the Lord had it prepared, like they made double portions, but it was a certain time they had to stop because didn't it become spoiled? So even then, they couldn't gorge themselves trying to prepare, you know, take so much and do it. Because he had literally cut off, you know,
Okay. So all of your comments. Let's get it.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, beginning at verse 12. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Ahijah that sanctified them. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they despised my judgments.
We just talked about the Most High warned them about Aaron in their heart. Right? Here's the proof that our foreparents, Aaron in their hearts. They rebelled against the Most High. They did their own will, not the Most High. Okay, let's go.
Which if a man do, he shall even live in them.
This is also what the Most High commands us, reminds us constantly throughout the whole Bible to remember His Sabbaths. Because obviously we forgot the Sabbaths right here. Okay, let's go.
And my Sabbaths they greatly polluted.
They greatly polluted. They just didn't pollute it. They greatly polluted. Like right now, His people are greatly polluting the Sabbath right now outside this building. Okay, so they're still His people, regardless they know they Israel or not. They're His people. They are greatly polluting the Sabbath. Our people outside this building are just like these people in this Bible. Most High is talking about. Okay, let's get it.
Then I said, I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out.
Now check it out. You know we talked about many times in class about how we must be a representative of the Most High. See how the Most High cared about His name? We are supposed to represent the Most High. Everything He's doing is for example to other people, and that's why it baffles me how our other brothers can't understand why the Gentiles don't have an opportunity to get life.
Why they do?
Why they don't. A lot of people think that they don't have an opportunity to get life. Because if He didn't care nothing about the Gentiles, He wouldn't care about them at all. He just wiped us out. But the thing is, He said, for my name's sake, I didn't destroy you. Right? Because Moses prayed. He said, for your name's sake, because the heathen would say this about you, that you took them out of the wilderness just to destroy them. Right? So we have to represent the Most High, because when we go against what the Most High says, right, we're profaning His name. We're blaspheming Him by our behavior, by our speech. We're blaspheming Him. He's a holy, righteous God. And let's start right now. Our own children. Our children leave the house, they're supposed to represent us. Whatever the children do, you're going to put that upon the parents. And so that's what the heathen has done to our God because of our behavior. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 15. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments, and walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Sabbaths, for their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, mine eye spared them from destroying them, neither did I make an end of them in the wilderness. But I said unto their children in the wilderness, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am Ahijah your God. Walk in my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them, and hallow my Sabbaths. And they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Ahijah your God. Notwithstanding, the children rebelled against me. They walked not in my statutes, neither kept my judgments to do them, which if a man do, he shall even live in them.
Check it out. We were talking about earlier about this being a lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do his laws, you will live in them. It be your lifestyle, right? You will live in them. It will be in your heart. Do you understand the difference? You will live in. This is what you will stand on. You will not waver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
They polluted my Sabbaths. Then I said, I would pour out my fury upon them to accomplish my anger against them in the wilderness.
Now also, the Most High, in the beginning of the lesson, he taught us about what the Sabbath was. He warned us about certain things, right? If you go against my Sabbath, you will surely die.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that has gone on in the time of Ezekiel. Okay? So all these scriptures was written for a warning and an example for us. Right? And most of us have read these stories about the falling off of our family. So the Most High has done everything he promised. So we are to learn from the disobedience of our parents and not profane his Sabbaths, nor his laws, nor his name. Okay?
Verse 22. Nevertheless, I withdrew mine hand and wrought Salakia. Did I finish 21?
Yeah.
Okay. Nevertheless, I withdrew mine hand and wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted in the sight of the heathen, in whose sight I brought them forth. I lifted up mine hand unto them also in the wilderness, that I would scatter them among the heathen, and disperse them through the countries.
Did he not do that? So we're here.
Because they had not executed my judgments, but had despised my statutes, and had polluted my Sabbaths.
And check it out. Back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Most High would be unrighteous if he did what the brother said earlier, that he heard what people say in Christianity, right? If he punished us like he has done for breaking the Sabbath and his laws, send his son down here to redeem them, give them a break period where they can just, like I said, do their thing, just be straight evil, that'd be unrighteous. Huh?
To be unrighteous for Christ.
Yeah, that makes no sense. He's punished us. We're suffering the punishment right now today.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, there ain't no grace period we can willfully sin. Because we're suffering. This is living proof. This is the sign right here.
Mm-hmm.
We are the living sign of his word coming true. So it just shows you how evil that teaching is. Yes.
But also like in the Christian church, like the Roman part of it, they teach them wrong because they taught us that we are the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
So we're serving, unbeknownst to knowing who you truly are. You know what I'm saying? And so we serve the false gods, not even knowing it.
Right. And the thing with that too, right? If we're the Gentiles, check out, you said the churches teach you that we're Gentiles, right? Okay, so the Bible has said that the Sabbath was never given to the Gentiles. Nor the laws was given to the Gentiles. So if you're a Gentile, why are they asking you for your tithes every Sunday?
Right.
Which is a part of the law. It makes no sense. Right? The law wasn't given to you, but you're going to follow this law and pay your tithes. Yes, my brother.
Yeah, so I was just going to make another comment about I'm noticing something that's happening out in the world, and that is the curses that have been placed on us for over 400 years.
Okay, speak up a little bit, please.
Yeah, okay. So I'm noticing something that's happening out in the world. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that is that these curses that have been placed on us for over 400 years, number one, is about to be lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're approaching the period in which, that 400-year limitation is about to end.
Mm-hmm.
That is 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Now I say that because in 1619 was the first was the year that the first cargo slave ship landed on Jamestown, Virginia. That was 1619. You had 400 years to that, and you come up with 2019. So we're not far off, right? So it's getting ready to happen. But what's also happening is that these curses are falling on the Gentile nation. I don't know if you all noticed that. Like, there was a time, like, there's an opium epidemic, right? Now, years ago, back in the 60s and the 70s, our people were inundated with drugs. I mean, our sisters were on the corner selling their bodies, to acquire money so that they could get these drugs and so on and so forth, right? And so, and then to the point where they would even throw us, they didn't offer any restitution for our people, right? Because, now they're calling it a sickness. Now they're providing medical care for them. Years ago, when it was happening to us, they was locking us up. We were thugs and hoodlums, right? So these things are falling back on. The other thing that's happening with the heathen nation is that the Caucasian male population is decreasing. I don't know if you all know that, right? So there's a number of things. You all got to pay attention to what's going on out there. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is real. We can't be lazy with this word. We are too far gone in the ball game. This is the fourth quarter. If we're lazy, we're going to be like the 5 virgins who were unwise and didn't go out and spend money to get that oil. And then, and then these same cats are going to come back to the brothers and sisters who did go out and purchase that oil, and they're not going to get anything because it takes time to acquire, this knowledge to get this oil. We cannot be lazy, brothers and sisters. I mean, put these cell phones down, get off this television, get into this word, because this word is going to deliver you. This word is powerful. Okay?
Oh, praise.
Amen?
Praise.
Amen. Hey, bro. Sisters are laughing because that's all they hear every day. Sisters are laughing. That's all they hear. Yeah.
Read what chapter? That's what you like. He said,
See, I love like-minded brothers.
Oh, praise
It's
God.
good. And that's why you're not supposed to quench the spirit. You know what I'm saying? If you read in the Bible, whenever they went into the synagogue, it wasn't one person up there talking. You know what I'm saying? Paul said, if any other brother got anything, the Spirit put upon them. Right? That's how it's supposed to go. Let the Most High work through his men. Okay? Let's get it.
Ezekiel
Y'all funny. But let's go.
chapter 20, verse 24. Because they had not executed my judgments, but despised my statutes, and had polluted my Sabbaths, and their eyes were after their fathers' idols. Wherefore I gave them also statutes that were not good, and judgments whereby they should not live.
So the Most High gave them over to their own lusts. Okay?
And I polluted them in their own gifts, in that they caused to pass through the fire all that openeth the womb.
See that? Not only were they sacrificing to Moloch, they was teaching their children to do the same.
Right.
Right now, today with us. If we teach our children to follow the idols of our gods, the idols of our gods is the desires of the world, the things the world offer you. And that's what before we came into the knowledge of the truth, we were doing. We were teaching our children to go after death. Put them into the fire. So no longer. Yes, we have. Okay.
That I may make them desolate, to the end that they might know that I am Ahia. Therefore, Son of Man.
He said, to the end that they may know that I am Ahia. Just like this is brought out. Those curses, like I'm going to say it again, for the 1,010th time. The Most High said, I will put these curses on you as a sign and as a wonder. There be no denying that his word has come to pass on these people. It's right in our face. That's what I said. These are the signs that we have today. We got to take heed to them. We have to take heed. The Most High has never lied. I don't know how much time we got, but all I know, I ain't promised tomorrow. So I got to get mine together right now today.
That's right.
You know, let's go.
Verse 27, therefore, Son of man, speak unto the house of Israel, and say unto them, thus said the Most High, let in this your fathers have blasphemed me, in that they have committed a trespass against me. For when I had brought them into the land, for which I lifted up mine hand to give it to them, then they saw every high hill, and all the thick trees, and they offered there their sacrifices, and there they presented the provocation of their offering. There also they made their sweet savor, and poured out their drink offerings. Then I said unto them, What is the high place whereunto ye go? And the name thereof is called Bamah unto this day. Wherefore say unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Most High, are ye polluted after the manner of your fathers?
Think about that. Are ye polluted after the manner of your fathers? Most High is asking us a question. Are we? Do we have the same heart as our fathers? Let's go.
And commit ye whoredom after their abominations?
Do we? He just told us what he has done as an example, as a sign. So this just don't go for them, it goes for us. So,
for when ye offer your gifts, when ye make your sons to pass through the fire.
So we teach our children to be worthy, right? Like I said, I had my son to play. I wanted my son to see him play football. That would have been put him in the fire. My son would not play. If time allows, he would not play. As we read about last week in the book of Maccabees, the whole sole premise of what sports was created for. It was to teach these young ones to do what? Serve the nation's gods. He gave them rewards. He put a helmet on, a hat on them. Taught them to serve Zeus. Right now, in football, at the Super Bowl, you get a what at the end? An idol. In basketball, you get a, go ahead, Tom.
No, and I was gonna say something too, because, this sports thing is really,
This sports thing is really an abomination to the Most High, because it causes our parents to teach our children to go against what the Most High has taught us about His law, statutes, and commandments. Now, and I say that because baseball is football and baseball. I'm a baseball man. I love baseball. It's a sport that doesn't require a lot of physicality, right? It's a thinking man's game, right? So when I came into this truth, right, my son, we stopped playing baseball because he played travel ball. We stopped playing baseball on a Saturday. I just cut it out. I says, okay, we can play on Friday or we can play on Sunday, but on the Sabbath, we're just not going to play. So I made a decision not to play nor practice on the Sabbath day. I wanted to keep it holy, right? And some of these, and one of my sons is coaches. He's the head coach. And he punishes my son for it, right? And I think what he does is he has him playing DH, right? That's, instead of having him play designated hitter, right? That's what DH stands for, right? And so, in fact, he was just telling me, my son was sharing with me the other day that he's not even going to play. This is his last year, and I can't understand. But you know what? I'm not going to go back on my word, and not honoring the Most High on the Sabbath day, right? So this sports thing has really gotten out of hand. The enemy is using it to trip up the Most High's people. In other words, sports is now a stumbling block, right? It's preventing us from observing, the Most High on His Sabbath day. So, and it's all about entertainment. It's just a thing, a form of distraction, right?
Come.
You know, because if you think about it, if you get rid of sports and entertainment, if you get rid of the cell phones, by God, I mean, you know, then what is it that we're going to do? I mean, you know, we're going to, you know, have time to think about other things. See?
Maybe at time to think about it higher.
Exactly,
Con,
exactly.
con.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
Well said, my brother.
Yeah. Hey, bro, real quick, as we brought out last week, entertainment, my brother, is the greatest form of sorcery.
Come.
Greatest form of sorcery, bro. Like we were saying, speaking about the parents teaching the children, passing their children to the fire. Like we said, we're teaching our children to be like these men, like these women, idols, and not to be like Christ.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Bro, like I said, I was once entertainer, right? I worked hard to be like whatever, you know, myself. I was an idol myself, right? So I just know the work that it took. Like I had to put my body and my mind behind what I thought was my limitations
Right.
to play football. And so we gotta do that same thing spiritually. We gotta put ourselves behind what we think is our limitations. Do you understand that?
Come.
We gotta put ourselves behind what we think we could. It's like when we was running, sprints and all that stuff we have to do. It's complicated to get into the discussion, but just to sum it up real quick. If my mind said that I can only do 20, 40-yard sprints with a 5-second rest in between, that's what my mind believed I could do. But I believe I had to do 50. So the same effort we gotta do spiritually in this book.
Come.
Right? We gotta go beyond. We gotta make time. Like I said, cut out the distractions and get in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I ask y'all to read sisters 3 chapters a day, brothers 5 chapters a day. Read 7. Put yourself beyond. Like when you get tired, don't let Satan win. Say, no, I'm getting another two chapters in. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm gonna cut this out. I'm gonna cut that out. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one more thing, just to piggyback on what you just said, right? You remember in sports, right? Football, you have to run those 40-yard sprints.
Mhm.
You know, the reason why you ran those 40-yard sprints, right?
Mhm.
Was because so that in the fourth quarter, you have the stamina.
To endure.
The stamina.
Come.
Great point, my
right,
brother. Great
to
point.
complete the game,
Mhm.
right? Because that's important. Now, the same thing applies spiritually to this word. We got to do these 40-yard sprints, right? Because we're in the fourth quarter right now. So, and if we don't have the energy, we're not going to be able to take the ball over the goal line. So,
And this is
and we're going to lose, and we're going to lose our victory. We're going to
Exactly.
lose our inheritance.
You'll lose your soul.
Yeah, we're going to lose your soul and our inheritance.
Yeah. This is the last thing we'll say about the sports. But the brother brought out, I thank for that, the brother, because what happens, you know, those who work the hardest, you can tell in the fourth quarter, right? Because you'll be tired, but you have stamina. That one that didn't work as hard, he can barely stand over. It's a saying in football. Fatigue will make a coward out of anybody.
Absolutely.
Right? So even though I may be bigger and stronger than you, if you're fresh, your legs are fresh enough tired, sister, you can push me over. You see what I'm saying? So we have to build our stamina spiritually. Okay? Let's go. Come on.
Can you put the mic to the mute position, please? Yep, the water.
Citizen.
Salaki.
I don't know if this is is relevant, but I'm gonna say it anyway. What do you do? Let's just say, because we know what's gonna happen, they're gonna throw us out of our homes, and while you're under such distress, I mean, it's like, okay, I was tossed out on Tuesday, and I'm out here wandering the streets. Do you remember how? Because I remember reading that they purposely killed the men, priests. They knew how to calculate the Sabbaths. So now you're out on the streets, you don't have a calendar, you kind of, I mean, I know people who go to work and take a vacation for a week, and they're like, what day is today? It's like, oh, today is Friday. So how do you remember when your Sabbath is when you are out here on the streets? And you know what I mean? Meaning that right now we're fine. Everybody.
Check it out though, sis.
Absolutely.
When it goes down, okay? Put your faith in the Most High. Okay? Because at that time, my sister, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you're out up on the sea, you know, you can lose track of time. Put your sole trust in the Most High. Stand up for Him. Whatever tribulation that you're going through, stand for. It's deeper than you observing a day. Okay? What if you knew what time it was, but you compromised to the government? Which is greater? You see what I'm saying? You know what the Sabbath is, so okay, you're gonna honor the Sabbath. But Sunday, you're gonna take a chill. Or Sunday, you're gonna eat some swine. Because when we out in the streets, like you said, okay, I just pray that the Most High, put it this way, nothing is impossible for the Most High. Whatever the Most High does to keep his people in order, so be it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I mentally prepared myself for what's coming. My thing is not when it goes down, when it keep me in my house, that kind of stuff, honoring the Sabbath. My thing is staying obedient to the Most High. Because that's the test, right? For a little while, and I mean, who knows how long it's gonna last? Because we can count when the sun goes down. Let's say tonight it goes down. Okay, this is my speculation. I'm not saying what the Most High will do. I don't know. Okay, my speculation. Let's say, literally, we're out in the streets for 2 weeks. Somebody around us will remember that today was Saturday, and then tomorrow is Sunday, and then the next day is Monday and Tuesday. Someone around us will, Most High will use to keep us in order. But the most important thing is, are we compromising or not? Because that's the decision that we got to make in our hearts. What God are we going to serve? When your stomach is hurting, like I said, when your baby is crying, your baby is hungry, what God are you going to trust in? Because that's why the brother bringing out why it's so important. Like we bring it all the time. We got to eat this roll. Because you eat this roll, you're building faith and confidence in your God. You know what He done for your foreparents. That's the important thing. You know what the Most High has done and what He will do for you. You understand me? So that's the test we're all going to be faced with. Which God are we going to choose? Are we going to wait? Remember, the Most High has a reward for those who patiently wait for Him. Like I said, all these children that was in the wilderness, none of them starved to death. Not one of them starved to death. No adult in the wilderness starved to death. And they were hungry and thirsty. But He fed them. So that's where we have confidence in that. Get it, my brother.
Yeah, so I just want to piggyback off of what Sister Cynthia was talking about. What do you do when you're out in the wilderness? Now, there's going to be some brothers, you're right, they're going to be able to tabulate when the Sabbath, what day the Sabbath is, right? Because they're going to be able to count, right? 6 days you work, and the seventh day, you rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then what about the weightier matters? What about the feast days? The high holy days, right? How are we going to maintain those, right?
But brother, this cut you off for a second, sorry. But I don't think she's talking about that. I think she's talking about like before the wilderness. Like when it goes down, they kick us out of houses and there's chaos up in the streets. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Give me a moment.
I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Picture.
Take that thing, brother.
So, so how do you keep the high holy days when we're out in the wilderness, right? And I don't know that we're going to be able to do that. Because the high holy days is supposed to be calculated on an annual basis. It's not calculated, out in advance, right? That's just the way it is, right? I believe that there's a time and place for everything, and the Most High is going to provide us with a pardon, if you will, and that's why it's important to get that oil, that heaven's oil, right? Just like those 5 virgins, right? We got to know this word. We got to be prayed up. We got to be oiled up. We got to be filled with the Most High's His power and His anointing, right? During this tribulation period, because not everybody. You look around. I can tell you one thing. You look around, and a lot of us aren't going to be here. A lot of us are not going to endure. A lot of us, according to Revelations 2:10. it says that there's going to be people who are going to be persecuted for 10 days, and they're going to be beheaded. So many of us are not going to make it, you know. So that's why it's important, man, to walk righteously before the Most High, and especially to observe the Most High on his Sabbath day. You know, to keep that day holy, because that's a signet sign between you and the Most High, right? And as we go through this tribulation period, the whole world is going to know who are those called out ones, who are the Jews of the Most High, his holy people, his called out ones. The world is going to know, because we're going to stick out. The whole world is going to be falling down around us, and we're going to be able to stand. Some of us, not all of us, but some of us. Okay.
Come on. Where we at?
Verse 31. For when ye offer your gifts, when ye make your sons to pass through the fire, ye pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto this day. And shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel? As I live, said the Most High, I will not be inquired of by you. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone.
Y'all get that. Okay. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 13. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 15. Now the Most High is getting back to give us instructions on how we are to function upon the Sabbath. Okay? Sister Brenda, when we get done reading out of Jubilees, can you get it started, please? Thank you. It's like 3 more precepts.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, starting at verse 15, and it reads, In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals.
Their victuals. Groceries? Is it groceries? Groceries? Food. What are burdens?
Loads and stuff,
What you say, bro?
different loads and stuff, like, like in this day and age, I like cases of this and cases of that. Like they items.
A burden, right? Like brother said, something that is carried, a load, right? Something oppressive, worrisome, right? So remember, we're not supposed to do any work. So these brothers are buying, selling, working on the Sabbath. Okay? Burdens also has other meanings, right? Burdens could be your personal troubles, you know, a lot of other things, but that's not what we're talking about concerning the Sabbath. But let's go.
Verse 16, there dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manners of where?
So now the Gentiles are coming in like they do now at the what you call it, what y'all call that?
Marketplace.
No, like down the street on the weekend they have
Farmers
farm market, that kind of stuff. So Gentiles come in and selling their stuff to the Israelites, right? So
And all manners of where? And sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah, and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day?
So Book of Jubilee is going to bring out that there's no buying or selling on the Sabbath. This is why Nehemiah is angry at his brethren, right? Because they're not laying something to heart. Let's go.
Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us?
That's what he's saying. This is why we're in the situation we're in right now. Our fathers did these things, and we still do these things, right?
And upon this, and upon the city, yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be
sun's
shut.
about to go down. The Sabbath is. Go ahead. Let's go.
I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gate, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day.
See, that's what's going on right now in our day. There's no one standing up for the Most High, right? Our men are scared of the children. Our men are walking around with amnesia, not even knowing who they are. So there's no men defending our nation for the Most High anymore. Okay?
Verse 20. So the merchants and sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them, and said unto them, Why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates, to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy.
Nehemiah is asking the Most High to have mercy on him, because he knows that his heart was not like his brethren. Okay? Now, brother, you're going to bring some out? This is what you was pointing that you were at earlier.
I'm sorry, I was on texting.
Oh yeah, that was Isaiah 58.
Okay. I said, you was on
Next. Next precept.
Next precept. Where we at?
Isaiah 58.
Isaiah 56,
Oh,
verse 2.
okay.
No, 58. Isaiah
Yeah.
58.
Yep.
Did we just do that?
No, we just did Nehemiah.
Oh, okay. Isaiah 58.
Yeah. He was ready.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it 56?
58. 58, then we're going to 56.
Yep. The book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 13. 13.
So, all through the Bible, we see that our people are forsaking the Most High. Right? And the Most High keep warning us. He's warning us. He's destroying us. He's warning us. He's destroying us. Let's go.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasures on my holy day,
So we will turn away from doing our pleasures on his holy day.
and call the Sabbath a delight.
See, they call this day a delight. We should look forward to this day,
Con.
right? This is a holy convocation. This is a holy day. We should. This is a special day. It's a special day to the Most High. It should be special to us, right? So,
And call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Ahiah honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Most High, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of Ahiah hath spoken it.
Again, this is why we can see why the nations tell us that the Sabbath is not so. Because it said, if we do these things, he will do these things for us. Right? He said he would cause us to ride on the high places of the earth and feed us the heritage. Right? Brother, you want to bring some out?
Yeah, no, this scripture here is very plain, brothers and sisters. We're not to treat the Sabbath day as a normal, mode of operation, MO, right? It's an entirely different day, right? You cannot do the same thing on the Sabbath day that you've been doing the 6 days of the week.
Come.
Right? It's just different. Yeah, turn the TV off, turn the cell phone off, God forbid me. But, my point is, we should be meditating upon the Most High. In song, in dance, and reading scriptures.
You gonna dance like my brother?
Go ahead and music.
You gonna dance like music gonna live by. You gonna dance Let's get it. Let's get it.
Dance before the Lord.
Let's get it, David.
That's no joke.
Let's get it, David.
But no, we have to treat it like as a different day. And then I love it where it says in verse 14 where it says that the Lord will cause thee to ride upon the high places, the high places of the earth. See, although that these curses are on us, when we start walking according to the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, we're blessed, brother.
I'm trying to tell you.
We shouldn't be complaining, even if we are, going through some pain and suffering because, the heathens, they hate us with a perpetual hatred. Even though they persecute us for righteousness' sake, right? We still should rejoice and dance before the Lord because, this thing right here says, he says he will cause us to ride on the high places of the earth. We would be the head and not the tail. We would be above and not beneath.
Exactly.
That's scripture, brother.
I'm trying to tell you.
That's scripture, man. This stuff
That's
is
true.
real.
That's true.
All praise
All
God.
praise the high. Get it. 56, Isaiah 56, verse 2. Hey, I'm holding you to that too, David. Dance like David.
Hey, well, I can do that in my home. I'm not amongst my brothers and sisters. They see there's parts of me that only the misses.
Right. Oh, you're crying over here, man. Yeah, y'all silly. Hey, you know what? Next week y'all can't sit next to each other.
Serious though.
No, I'm just kidding.
In the word, don't keep
Just kidding.
Yeah, I learned them.
Verse 2.
Come. The book of Isaiah, chapter 56, and verse 2.
So this going back off what the author was bringing out, right? The first part of the scripture is going to inform us how the Most High really feel about those who are obedient and holding the Sabbath. It says, "Blessed is the man that doeth this." So, blessed is that man. Okay, let's go.
Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
Now, Most High saying we do this, we bless. That's a promise, right? There's a reward coming for those who lay a hold upon it and keep it from polluting it, doing any evil. Okay? Yes.
That's why earlier today when me and Tony I was talking with Tony, not for me to be trying to teach him nothing, but just, saying that at this time, how we are truly blessed to be doing what they are doing in the heavens. Because when you read this book, it's so many times that they didn't do this. So for us to be coming together honoring the holy days, there's just verifying what the scripture is saying.
Now we're going to even get more detail. Jubilees chapter 50. We're going to start at verse 6 to 13. Chapter 50, verse 6, Book of Jubilees. So far, we're not doing our own pleasures, right? No buying and selling, right? No bringing burdens in out of houses, right? No working, no servile work, if possible. Servile work, as we know, is work that you get paid money for. Like I said, we in captivity. For those who have to work, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? So, most I know the situation, so he'll give you grace on that. But like we said, it's not a day to try to get some extra money. But if you have it off, you keep it off. Okay? What else did we learn? Chapter 50, verse 6.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 50 and verse 6. And behold, the commandment regarding the Sabbaths. I have written the Sabbaths.
With an S.
I have written them down for thee, and all the judgments of its laws. 6 days shalt thou labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of Ahijah your God. In it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons, and your men servants, and your maid servants, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whosoever desecrates that day, whosoever lies, Salaki page got stuck, family. Whosoever lies with his wife.
You understand that? That's part of doing your own pleasure. This is not a day to be having fun with the meat.
Absolutely.
Okay? So let's go.
Or whosoever says he will do something on it.
So this is not a day to make plans to do something on it, right? You understand that? So you got 6 days to plan whatever event you want to do. You can't plan something on the Sabbath.
Right.
The Sabbath is the Most High's. Don't let no man, like my Bible, let no man deceive you. The Most High said, whosoever says he should do something on it, that's making a plan. Right? If you want to, somebody in your family, they get married or whatever it is, reception, whatever it is, let it be on the 1st or the 6th day. This is the day of the Most High. Okay? It's not a day for none of that. Right? It's like, it ain't a day I'm gonna plan a trip and I'm gonna go to Atlanta. Right? If I go to Atlanta, I can go Thursday. Right? See my family, whoever it is, all Thursday, all Friday. When the sun go down, I'm out of the Sabbath. So it's not a day for us to make plans and do any other events outside of this holy convocation. Okay? Let's go.
Or whosoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling. Excuse me. And whosoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself.
This is drawing water. We don't draw water today. That was literally work. Okay? So we can come to the water faucet. Okay? Right? That's not what it's saying. We're not. Back then, it was physical labor to do these things, to start a fire, to draw water. It was physical labor. Okay? Well, let's go.
And whosoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whosoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house shall die. Ye shall.
Remember that right there. Because Christ's going to teach us something about that right there. I said, Christ, he made all things clear. It says, whosoever take up any burden to carry it out of his tent. Remember that. Okay? Let's go.
Ye shall do no work whatsoever on the Sabbath day, save or except what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest and keep Sabbath from all work on that day, and to bless Ahijah your God, who has given you a day of festival and a holy convocation.
So what else you want to do than enjoy your festival, your holy convocation? on the Sabbath.
Mhm.
Okay? Let's go.
And a day of the kingdom for all Israel is
The day of the holy kingdom
Mhm.
for all Israel. Am I on the right spot? Okay.
And a day of the holy kingdom for all Israel is this day among their days forever.
Forever.
For great is the honor which Ahiah has given to Israel, that they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day, and rest thereon from all labor which belongs to the labor of the children of men, save burning frankincense and bringing oblations and sacrifices before Ahiah.
So the priest had to burn the incense, right? So he said, you do these things, but you can't do these, but you can do these right here. It's all part of the service of the Most High. Okay?
And bringing oblations and sacrifices before Ahiah for days and for Sabbaths. 4 days and for Sabbaths. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of Ahiah your God.
See, that's the work that can be done. That's part of the work that can be done in the sanctuary. And that's where I was saying about food stuff. This is the work that's being done in the sanctuary, not outside the sanctuary. Okay? So,
That they may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day, for a memorial well pleasing before Ahiah, and that he may receive them always from day to day, according as thou hast been commanded. And every man who does any work thereon, or goes on a journey, or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whosoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by ship on the sea, and whosoever strikes, or kills anything, or slaughters a beast, or a bird, or whosoever catcheth an animal, or a bird, or a fish, or whosoever fasts, or make war on the
check it
Sabbath.
out. See, this is where our foreparents and during the days of Maccabees erred at. It says, whosoever make war. He never said you can defend yourself.
Right.
But you can't knock those brothers and sisters for their integrity.
Con.
They just had a little lack of understanding how to truthfully function on Sabbath, but they died gloriously before the Most High. Most High will reward them for their integrity. He said they can make war, but in our law we have a duty to defend ourselves and our family.
Con.
Okay, so that's why, like I said, the Most High put it in Judaism, the true understanding. You know, if you don't fight these people, they're gonna erase my seed off the earth. You can defend yourself. As we said, next time you come around here on the Sabbath, we're gonna take care of business. Unless we uproot it off the earth. Because they just come up on the Sabbath and kill us.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
You know. That's why I said also, if you go back in the scriptures, you look at the walls when the walls of Jericho fell down. What day was that? Okay? But that was the command of the Most High. Yes.
So the purity of the law, even then, they didn't have it.
No, it's not the purity of the law, it's the true understanding of the law.
Well, my understanding is that when we were given the law, when we came out of Egypt, that's when they had full understanding, but it seems like.
Who said they had full understanding?
Huh?
Who said that?
Well, I mean, because Moses was there and Moses.
That don't mean nothing. Moses had full understanding, don't mean brothers did.
Okay, so basically, from the time we left Egypt all the way up until now, we kind of been like this the whole time.
No. Since the time you're talking about, right? You had men and women who applied themselves, gave their heart, their mind, and their soul to the Most High. The Most High gave them understanding, right? And we talked about in class last night. You reap what you sow. So just because they had Moses, they had Christ. They had full understanding. It's the individual who applies what the Most High teaches them. If, like I said, if you read one scripture a week, that's the understanding that you're going to have. Most High already deal with you like that. But those brothers, like the brother we're talking about right now, is Moses. We read about Ezekiel. He had full understanding. The brother applied himself. There's many examples in the Bible where they had full understanding and they operated in alliance with that, in harmony with that. But everybody reap what they sow, sis. Right now, if Christ came right now and gave a class, everybody ain't gonna understand what he said. It's those who really want it. Right? Just because you have Moses don't mean that you have for the Sunday. You probably in the audience when he paying any attention.
Well, okay, so what you're saying is that these people, even though they had integrity,
Oh, them?
yeah, the
Okay.
ones in Maccabees, they went up to the mountains and they said, no, we're not gonna fight because it's a Shabbat.
Mhm.
But they were, because of my understanding is, we were in captivity even
Mhm.
then. And that's because of a reason, because of the fall. So we kind of already was like, oh. So now you have a group of people that still, they try and honor the Most High to their death, in which they did. So the others, you said that the Most High gave them, even though these are good people too. But this other group here, they're like, listen, the Father gave us full understanding, like, listen, you don't make war, but you fight in a
Right.
war because you have to protect
So the Most
yourself.
High held them accountable for what they knew. You see what I'm saying? They believed what they was doing. They didn't break the law, sis.
No, I'm not saying.
That's what I'm saying. That 1,000 people, they didn't break the law. They died glory. They said if we were to die, then break the laws of our fathers. Okay? So the Most High, through Judas Maccabees, he said, look, this is what you tell them. Okay? Don't start war with them. When they come over here next time, you defend yourself or they'll uproot you out of the land. They will just choose the Sabbath to fight you. So Most High gave Judas a little bit more understanding.
So let's fast forward to today. So basically, those who are like now, who we are like IUIC, these people are kind of crazy, but they're still in accordance with the Most High, even if they say, okay, it's a Shabbat, y'all do, and they just die. So it's kind of the same. They're still good people, both groups.
Sis, I keep trying to say this. The true church of Christ are the wheat. Okay? Christ is going to gather some from here, some from there. It's those who still for Christ in integrity. It's not about one group.
Right.
It's not about one group. There are many individuals in different parts of the land that Christ is going to gather through the angels. The wheat, remember, says, "We send the angels and I will gather the wheat in the short of tear." That's the true church that Christ is going to present to his Father. That's the ultimate true church. So not everybody with all these alphabets got it. Every people sis in the Christian church that Most High will give opportunity to. The Christ is the judge. So I can't say and tell you who Christ is going to choose, because it's the Most High will hold each and every man and woman accountable for what they know and their deeds, their works. You know what I'm saying? There's many Christian pastors right now enlightened. Stop their services up on Sundays and change it to the Sabbath, learning how to function up on the Sabbath. This is the Most High Spirit, His power in operation. So the Most High is He's gathering His elect to His elect. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say and tell you about this group and that group, because it's many in that group and that group are going to get destroyed. It's many in this group that's going to get destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Our mission is just to try to be one who's not taken.
I see what you mean. I was just going by understanding.
Okay,
That's
so
all.
what I'm saying, sis, none of us know it all.
That's right.
None of us. So that's why I said those sisters and brothers, they died in their integrity. They could have compromised like everybody else. They died. Once they died gloriously, they made the Most High proud. So to save his seed in the land, the Most High told Judas, go talk to my people. And then remember, he brought him help. He brought other troops to join them to defend his nation. But no, the people died gloriously, sis. They died faithfully to the Most High. Okay? Yes.
Just real quick, I want to read a precept just dealing with understanding and how the Most High gives it unto whom He chooses, and how we must function with it, how we must apply what He gives us and do it to fulfill His will. This is in Exodus chapter 35, verse 30. And Moses said unto the children of Israel, See, Ahiah hath called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And he hath filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship. And going just further down the chapter and throughout the book, those who he instilled wisdom and understanding and knowledge on how to do these things, they took what he gave them and they did what he said. They completed what he required of them to do. So it's the same now with us in the law. So we must eat this roll, understand how Ahia requires us to function, apply these things, and fulfill his will. It's the same thing, and that's how we obtain, after baptism, we would obtain the Ruach. We have his spirit in us, so now he's guiding us. He's showing us how to function. And not just one church will have people who the Most High will deal with in that matter. Is if they're truthfully seeking the God of this Bible, and they're in it and they're reading it, he will help give them discernment to discern if someone above them may be teaching them against Christ or if they're teaching them Christ. The Most High will give us that spirit of discernment. So,
The what?
praise.
Well, what's that scripture where Paul said, that everything you do goes to the glory of the Most High?
Mhm.
Also, let every man be persuaded in his own mind, so that as you were saying, their conscience was holding them accountable at that moment when they didn't feel, they didn't have the faith to say, okay, we can make war this time. It was like, you know what, people gonna die. You know, we're not gonna disobey the Most High.
Yeah. So their conscience didn't convict them. They felt that they were doing what was righteous. They escaped torment. Remember, they fled. They didn't compromise. They were that was a group that did not compromise. Many of our people compromised. They fled. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't do anything wrong. The Most High just corrected it, you know what I'm saying, through Judas to save the seed. Because remember, they have our records, sis, right? So if they see that, okay, they can't defend themselves on the Sabbath, when they gonna come kill us?
Right.
On the Sabbath, we all just gonna sit like sitting ducks and they gonna kill us, and the Most High seed would be wiped off the earth. The Most High prevented that. That's why he said Judas, and after Judas talked to them, he sent them other troops to came and joined them. And then it showed you the difference between the ones that he sent and the group that tried to come help him that Most High did not allow to come. Right? He said, I'm gonna get me a name and fame. You know what I'm saying? And Judas said, nah, man, you stay over there. You know what I'm saying? We cool over here. Right? So we didn't say that about the two groups that came prior. Because they were sent from the Most High to protect and defend his seed in the earth. So, let's go.
Continuing verse 13 in Jubilees 50. Or whosoever fasts or makes.
So we can't fast on the Sabbath. Now, if we're doing a multiple week or week Sabbath, you're doing a week Sabbath, 2 week Sabbath, fast, then you have to fast on the Sabbath. Christ fasted for 40 days, right? 40 nights, what it was, right? Other prophets, Ezra fasted more than 7 days. You see, Moses, they all, so you can't start your fast on the Sabbath.
Right.
Okay?
Or make swore on the Sabbaths. The man who does any of these things on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbaths according to the commandments regarding the Sabbaths of the land, as it is written in the tablets, which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for thee the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the division of their days.
And again, this is why I say that the Roman Catholic Church took our records out of the Bible, right? If our people read this right here, it kind of really explains. It goes, it thoroughly knocked down that mess that they talk about their Sabbath days. How can you choose to do a Sabbath when you feel like it?
Right.
After what we just read. How can think about it? If you can this think about it. If you can choose when you want to do your Sabbath, right? Why would Nehemiah be upset?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, another one just came to my mind. You said that Christ is the Lord of the Sabbath. So our Sabbath is we're honoring Him.
That's what. Yeah, but that's not okay. So whenever you're honoring Him, okay, You're honoring him by your obedience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're see, this is how we just turn down their philosophy. If you're honoring him, right, through your obedience, that means that it's a 7th day.
Exactly.
His father said it was a 7th day.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a function how you must, it's an operation how you must function on the Sabbath. That makes no sense. That's why I was telling y'all the other day in class, people ask y'all questions, ask them a question. Make them think about what they're actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you get to defending what you got to say, because you know what you got is true, let them think about their stuff and let them swallow that up for, like you said, eat or digest that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a question on a question.
But their question, like, okay, for example, same question he said, okay, Christ is the Lord of the Sabbath. So I can choose when I want to, how he said, how I want to honor Christ when I want to. You ask him a question. Well, how is that so? Like, how do you honor him? It's deeper than this. You saying that he's the Lord of the Sabbath, you honor him. How are you honoring him? What do you do to honor Christ?
Mm-hmm.
Let them think about what they do to honor Christ.
So just to piggyback off of what you said,
A bite bar.
So when, oftentimes you hear Christians saying, you know what, I worship the Most High every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they fall back on that so much. It's like a broken record, right? But listen, look, there is a day that the Most High set aside for us to worship Him. And if we ourselves choose to worship the Most High on any other day, on a day that we choose, right, as opposed to the day that the Most High has set aside, right? We raise ourselves up above the Most High.
Exactly.
We become gods, right? And that's the fallacy, that's the apostasy, that's the abomination, before the Most High. So, listen, we cannot, when the Most High gives a command, listen, we obey it no matter what. As soon as a brother shows me a scripture, in the word, hey, I'm already in line.
You better be.
I'm in line. I mean, I don't have to debate it. I don't have to think about it. Now, I will caution some of the brothers and sisters about one thing, and that is sometimes when someone gives a revelation, right? That revelation may be above your head, and sometimes we have the tendency to reject it. I don't believe that, right? Instead of saying, you know what, brother, that might be over my head, I'm going to go pray for it. I'm going to pray for the revelation so that I can apply that knowledge to my everyday life. Mm-hmm. You should never reject the word of God without going to the word to the Most High for understanding. And all I get understanding.
That's why it says to try every spirit.
Exactly. So, so we just have to be careful. Hey, if the Most High, gives us a feast day, a high day, Sabbath day, or whatever, right? We ought to just get in line, just like marching soldiers.
Right. He's our father.
That's right.
Your father tell you to do something, you're supposed to do it.
You say, the Christians say they worship like every day, Monday, Tuesday, but then the key word is holy convocation. They make Sunday that holy time.
Exactly.
Right.
And then after that, sister, right? The Bible said that we are not to lay with our wife or our husband. So you're celibate? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You can't. So you ain't shot. So right. So we mean, okay. So these sisters in these churches say they worship the Most High every day because it's their Sabbath every day, right? But why they in these malls? Why are they in these malls shopping? It says you have to buy and sell on the Sabbath. You see, so there's no one teaching them how to function on the Sabbath. It's not just a day of worship. It's more than that. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, let's keep going.
The next precept family will be the book of Luke, chapter 4 and verse 15.
Speaking about holy convocation, so this is the next step, precept to the lesson. Thank you. Showing that it's a holy convocation, where there's gathering people and it's reading out of the law. Mm-hmm. Luke chapter 4, verse 15 and 16. 15, verse 4, chapter 4, verse 15 through 16. How when you're there.
The book of Luke, chapter 4, starting at verse 14 or 15. 15, Salaki, verse 15. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all.
So Yahshua taught in their synagogues. When?
On the Sabbath.
Verse 16. Let's get it.
That's the, is it on mute? It's on mute.
There you go.
Okay, the water. Verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was.
As his custom was. What's a custom?
A life, a way of life.
A way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So you continue doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as who?
A tradition.
A tradition. So as Christ's tradition was,
Mm-hmm.
his tradition came, his ordinance came from the Most High.
Come.
So as his custom was, remember he did nothing on his own initiative.
Right.
So what he's doing right now, the Most High told him to keep this tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his custom was what?
He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
On when?
The Sabbath day.
And did what?
And stood up for to read.
See, Holy Convocation is when he got together and is reading out of the law. You ain't reading out of no magazine. You're reading out of the Most High's book. Okay? Luke chapter 13, verse 10 through 17. So it's showing you how Christ followed the law of the Sabbath, the fullness of it. And that's not saying that we can't worship the Most High every day, right? But on the Sabbath day, you better set it apart.
Come. The book of Luke, chapter 13, and verse 10. And it reads, and he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
Where?
On the Sabbath.
He was doing what?
Teaching in one of the synagogues.
Oh. I get that. Again, he was teaching in the synagogue, which was a meeting place for the Jews. He was teaching out of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the Sabbath.
And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift herself up. And when Yeshua saw her, he called her to him, and said unto her, Woman, thou art loosed from thine infirmity. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight, and glorified the Most High. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Yasha had healed on the Sabbath day.
Wait. Y'all see how evil these religious leaders are? It was. Right? This man, this brother, did a marvelous work. He healed a sister that had an infirmity for 18 years. Wow. He just healed a woman. And you're angry because you think that you're upholding the law. Okay? Check this out.
Had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them, therefore, come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him, and said, Thou hypocrite, doth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering?
Y'all see that? You hypocrite. You're breaking the law but with an animal.
Mm-hmm.
I just healed your sister. But it's something deeper in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say it right now because it's gonna get to this in a minute. Right? Here's the deep part about it, right? Christ says, my Father continue working. So do I.
Mm-hmm.
Who's working on the Sabbath right now? The Most High. He sent this spirit. Christ didn't do this by himself.
Right.
The Most High sent this spirit to heal his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you truthfully call a good work. This is a seemly work on the Sabbath. The Most High is working right now. So that's what Christ is trying to let them know. That's why the sister glorified the Most High, not Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Christ gave all honor and glory and praise to the Most High before he did anything. So the Most High is working through Spirit on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a day for us to decide what's a good work.
Right.
This work is according to the Most High's will, his purpose. Okay? Me saying, oh, if we decide this is good work to do something, it's not, don't make it good. Christ is doing nothing outside what his Father says through all these parables, all these events. Let's go.
Verse 16. And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day?
Get that? Y'all get that? He says, Satan bound this woman. The Most High released her. But you want to kill me for doing the work of my Father when you let out your oxes and your things from their stalls. Which is more important? Do y'all get it?
Mm-hmm.
See, the Pharisees were blind guys. They didn't understand the spirit of the law, the mercy in the law. They had no clue because their God was not the Most High. That's why they killed people for breaking the so-called law in error. If it was Christ's time at this time, they would have killed this brother for doing a good work.
Mm-hmm.
That's why whenever Christ checked them, matter of fact, with the one brother, when the one sister who had caught in her adultery, and Christ said, which one of you have no, he would say, ye without sin cast the first stone.
Mm-hmm.
And they all left out of the synagogue. That makes, see that, like brother said earlier about the weightier matters of the law. This is mercy.
Mm-hmm.
This is love. Christ was doing showing them the weightier matters of the law. It's deeper than thou should not do this on the Sabbath. This is the law too, to be merciful. That's following the law. Being merciful to our brothers and our sisters is following the law. So Christ is teaching them the true definition of following the law. Okay? Yeah.
Just one thing real quick. When I read verse 11, something clicked to me because I have knowledge. The Most High has given me the understanding that all sickness is a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this, it kind of struck me. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years. And I looked up infirmity, and that's like, you know what I'm saying, say you're, born crippled, or you know what I mean, you're maimed or something like that. That's what infirmity is. And it said the spirit of that. And Christ also goes on to say, whom Satan hath bound. You see, so it just really ties in together how detrimental to us sin is. And it made me think back to when the Most High promised us that none of our women would be barren. We would not get sick. We will only be prosperous if we obeyed him. And if we fell away, all the curses that he prophesied will come to pass on us. So that's why we get sick. That's why we have children being born, stillborns. We have children being born, crippled with mental disabilities and stuff like that. It's all a spirit, and that just kind of blew my mind.
Because the Most High, if we were obedient, he would have protected us from the spirit.
Con.
Mm-hmm. He would protect us because we want to go against him. Mm-hmm. He released his hedge. Mm-hmm. So we're the spirit game to the spirits. Thank you for that, brother. Yes.
Just to piggyback off the eye, we were just talking about that on the way up here.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes and ties into as well how we point to the white man.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that he's doing to the people, or our people, and the treacheries and the murders and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way back to if we'd have been obedient to the Most High, those things would have never happened. Like the infirmities and things of that nature
Mhm.
All of it we can tie back to our obedience to the Most High. That's how all this was able to happen in the first.
Con.
So I'm telling you, just said.
All praise God. One spirit.
Let's keep going.
God. Verse 17. And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious.
They were what?
They rejoiced.
No, they were ashamed.
That's like it.
Okay? Go ahead.
And all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him. Next precept, the book of Luke, chapter 14, starting at verse 1. Chapter 14, verse 1 through 5. And it reads, And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath day, that they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy.
Same thing he was talking about earlier. Okay, first.
And Yeshua answering, spake unto the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day?
So he's asking him a question. Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? Knowingly watching him for error. Okay? Let's get it.
And they held their peace. And he took him and healed him and let him go. And answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ox or an ass fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day?
Did y'all get it? Which one of you have an ass or an ox fall into a pit? So you're helping an animal on the Sabbath day. Is it more lawful for me to help God's child on the Sabbath day or animal?
God's child.
All of them would say yay to this right here. But he's showing them again, if you can show mercy to an animal, why not follow the second commandment and love thy brother as you love yourself?
Come.
Yes, sir.
So this is gonna be my last comment for tonight.
You good, brother?
Okay, so, we're well familiar with the scripture that in 1 Samuel that says, to obey is better than sacrifice. But there's another scripture that we miss, and it's about mercy. And it's in Hosea 6:6. Get that scripture. And that is that the Most High desires mercy and not sacrifice.
He says, For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of the Most High more than burnt offerings.
There you go. Bring that out, brother, because we miss that scripture. We always think that, to obey is better than sacrifice. But what about mercy?
Yeah.
Because the Most High requires mercy too. We can't see our brother naked and not clothed. Say, be blessed, brother, and go in peace. If you got some money to bless that brother, you sure the heck better do it. Because you're building up treasure in heaven for yourself when you do that. See, that's called giving alms. It's showing mercy to your brother.
Like I said, that's the law.
Come.
We have to show mercy to our brothers, to our sisters. Okay? Where we at?
The book of John, St. John, chapter 5, and verse 1 through 20.
So again, like I said earlier, Christ brought the spirit of the law. He brought the mercy to the law.
The book of
chapter
John,
5, verse 1.
chapter 5, verse 1.
And again, y'all, like, seriously, how do we expect the Most High to show us mercy and not show our brothers and sisters mercy? Sincerely, though. That's that wicked steward. He had a debt. His Lord forgave his debt, but he didn't forget the debts of his servants. That's the same thing. Remember, the Most High will not even hear our prayers if that's the case.
Right.
When we do pray, we say, we ask the Most High to forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. So to forgive somebody, you have to show them mercy.
God.
It's serious. That's the law. That's what the law is all about. It's about self-examination and not judging our brothers from the outward appearance, but showing them mercy and pray to the Most High.
Say that.
For our people.
God.
Seriously. This is how we honor and glorify our God. This is what he requires, yes.
Also, like you always taught us, how can you love the Most High if you can't even see, but yet still you can't love him?
Same thing. The Most High call you a liar. You say you love me, but you don't love your brother that you can see. You're a liar. No? Let's get it.
The book of John, chapter 5, and verse 1. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Yeshua went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent or sick folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then, first after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years.
Imagine that. 38 years you have infirmity.
Verse 6. When Yeshua saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him,
Wilt thou be made whole? What's Christ asking this brother? What's he asking this brother? Would thou be made whole? Yes.
Can you receive that healing?
Speak up, sister.
Do you believe that you can receive the healing?
Yes. Yeah. Do you have faith? Do you believe? You have faith that if this water is troubled, that the angel would do this for you. But one that is greater than the pool of water and the angel is before you. Okay? Let's get it.
Verse 7. The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me.
Showing no mercy. Right over you. Right. Let's get it.
Verse 8. Yeshua said unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk.
See there? Remember what the law said? Should not carry a burden. Now, here's the situation, right? If I carry a burden right now, I'm doing that on my own will, right? If I'm this man, I wasn't planning on picking up my cot and going anywhere.
Right.
Right? It's like right now, if I have to come to class and one of my vehicles wouldn't start up, and the other one didn't have any fuel, any gas in it. Can I not put gas in my car to get to class? I wasn't planning on driving that car. I was planning on driving when I filled up yesterday. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. Right?
Verse 9. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked, and on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day.
Stop, man. These people, right? It just shows you when you're in darkness, like Christ said, if your light be darkness, how great is your darkness? They are totally blind to the power of the Most High. There's no one around doing what Christ is doing right now. Okay? This is not a fake thing where I'm telling you a fake prophecy that will happen to you if you give me some money.
Right.
These people had infirmities for 18 years, 38 years, and the whole town knew it. Who could do that? These people are proclaiming to know the law. If you know the law, it is written that this man will come doing these things. But it was blind because their hearts was in error. Most High didn't give them the light. They rejected the true light. Okay? Just imagine right now, if you witness some of these acts that Yahshua is doing on the Sabbath day, would you glorify the Most High or try to kill him?
Glorify the Most High.
But do you? So your knee hurt, huh? Go ahead.
And that's deep, you know. It just goes to show how that same spirit is prevalent today. You see, when we take one precept or are stern on one precept rather than understanding the fullness of Christ, as he said, for lo, I come in the volume of the book. So if we don't read this whole book in its proper context and apply the precepts that way, Satan can easily get into us, and we can take that one precept and have a whole total misconception on what it's really saying and not function in Christ and function on our own initiative. And Satan can use that to snare us and to snare other people.
Check it out. I'm glad you brought it up. Because we got what you call that?
A response, a comment,
a comment on our YouTube page, right? The brother put the same verse that you said that he no longer accepts our Sabbaths, our sacrifices, all that stuff, right? Because of the error of our heart. What we're doing, we're serving other gods. We just read that Christ we say he was doing the feast of the Jews.
God.
So the brother, like you said, took that scripture and is way off on it. I don't know who the brother is, but he way off on it. Like Most High said that we got to do these holy days. I mean, Christ is doing it after Isaiah. You know what I'm saying? But more importantly, he brought up how today. Let's take it for today, right? Within the body in Christ, we have the same spirit. A lot of us have the same spirit as these Pharisees, right? A sister, got informed of who she is. The brother got informed who he is. Changed their whole life. That's the power of the Most High.
God.
That's healing. You know what I'm saying? We're rejecting the power of the Most High and trying to determine who God is using.
Right.
Like, seriously. None of us in here can change on our own. Not one. Right? But for us to sit here and have art with you because the progress that the Most High is doing, the work that the Most High is doing in you, it's evil. Right? Like this young brother right here. The youngest brother inside the kids. Who can deny that the Most High ain't dealing with this brother? But somebody say, man, you ain't even 21 years old, man. Most High, man, you ain't. Same thing did with Christ. You what 30? So you ain't 50 and 60. You can't put a time and a date on what the Most High is doing. The Holy Spirit works how the Most High tell her to. That's the same thing. We're rejecting the power of the Most High. This brother right here, I can't stop this brother from talking. Talk, my brother. You hear me? Get it.
Okay, so where is it? Somewhere in Scripture I read that there's a precept to this sort of thing that's going on with the Pharisees, and that is it's about swatting at a gnat and
straining at a gnat,
or right?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know where that scripture is, right? So that's definitely a precept to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's something that the Holy Spirit just revealed to me just now as we were reading verses 6 through 9 or 8. And there's at the bottom of verse 6, it says, wilt thou be made whole? I looked at that. There's a question mark. Another way of saying that is, are you ready to be made whole? That's what Christ said to them. Are you ready
to be made whole. And the reason that I know that is because his response is this. He says, sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. But then Christ said, rise and take up thy bed and walk. And he was immediately made whole. You see that? That was the question that Christ asked that brother. He said, are you ready to be made whole? Think about that. Look at it. It's there.
But look, our former life is an infirmity. Are we ready to be made whole?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You get it? That's what I'm saying. It's the power of the Most High. I know who changed me. I couldn't do it. Wasn't even trying to. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't even trying to at all. You know? But we have to respect each other because we got to recognize that that's the Most High is dealing with us. We got to, I'm serious. And we can't sit and judge each other. Like, I'm telling you the truth, man, like when I first came in the truth, I was misunderstood. People thought I was judging them. I was not judging them. I just fell in love with the Most High. I always loved the Most High, but then I fell off. But I had respect for him. I didn't love him because obviously I wasn't following his laws and his commandments. But when he brought things back to my memory, I had love for his children. So if I'm telling this sister, it's a Sabbath. You can't go to a basketball game. I'm not judging you. I'm trying to warn you. You see what I'm saying? It's a difference. So there's nothing wrong, y'all, when you get this knowledge, you see your brother and sister in error, to correct them in meekness and in love. Because if you don't do that, that blood is on your hands. You get it? So don't get offended. None of y'all, do not get offended if a brother or sister is correcting y'all. It's not the brother, it's the Most High. You know? Like I said, be ready to be made whole. Sin is a sickness. It's a curse. The Bible just shows sin is spirits. Every sin that we can commit is a spirit behind it. Keep reading. You hear it. Spirit of fornication, spirit of this. All these things come with spirits. Right? So let's let the Most High make us whole. Let's go, brother.
You just said something that brought the scripture back to mind. You said, you know who changed you. You know, I was trying to think of it earlier on the welfare, but it was Ezekiel 11 and 19. He was talking about putting one spirit in them, taking out that stony heart. And in 20, he was talking about how he's going to give them, he's going to enable them basically to keep his statutes and ordinances and things of that nature. So it's the Most High.
And after that, as we all know, we said all the time, the Most High prevents you from sinning. You know what I'm saying? Brother might be on different conversations. Sister told me the other day, brother, it's a Sabbath. I would think it's a Sabbath. We've been meeting every day up, guys, it's a Sabbath. Brother, it's a Sabbath. That's the Most High. Stop me from having a wordy conversation on the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? But let's get it, y'all.
Hold on.
Okay.
So to piggyback off of what my brother just said, hey, get Jeremiah 9:23 or 24. Get that scripture. Read those scriptures like this.
23.
Yeah.
Thus says Ahiah, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom. Read that again. Thus says Ahiah, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glory in this. This is my favorite scripture, bro. We do this all the time. You know what I'm saying? But if you're gonna glory, you're gonna talk about anything. That it says, but let him that glory in this, that he understand and know me, that I am a higher which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, says a higher. Brother. You're gonna boast about anything, let that be it. That you know and understand your Father. Ain't nothing wrong having confidence in that. That's what we're supposed to have confidence in. So what? Let's get it.
Continuing the book of St. John, chapter 5, verse 12. And it reads, Then asked they him, What man is it which hath said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed wist not who it was, for Yeshua had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Yeshua findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more.
Do what?
Sin no more.
See? Sin no more. The infirmity, right, is a combination. It links up with sin. Okay? You made whole now. You're given opportunity. Sin no more.
Lest a worse thing come unto thee.
That's the worst spirit coming to you. Okay?
The man departed and told the Jews that it was Yeshua which had made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Yeshua and sought to slay him.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I know we gotta get these precepts and include this and get ready to break bread. But is Yasha carrying a heavy weight right now? Is he carrying a burden? No, I'm talking about physically. Is he carrying? Is this work he's doing a heavy work? Is he working?
I'm not carrying no burden.
So how's he breaking the law? He didn't pick the man up on his shoulder and press him. You know what I'm saying? But is he really doing any work?
No.
He is. He's not.
But
He's being used as a vessel.
this is a light thing to the Most High.
Right, exactly, yeah.
You get it?
Con.
He ain't out there chopping no wood, nothing like that.
He not a breath afterward.
All he do is speaking words.
Con.
Y'all get it? For a man to go lay out his ox, that takes work. You got to do this and do that. What they was doing back in the day. But Yasha just says, be made whole.
I was about to say, not only that, that's having to do with like your livelihood and stuff like that, like your physical well-being, you taking care of that animal. But this has to do with your spiritual well-being.
Exactly.
These are things that has to do with that.
Yes.
Yes. The scripture, but like I always say, his yoke is not heavy. And so if we follow his laws and, the laws that he told us to do, then our burden wouldn't be heavy.
Because you won't get so
Get weighed
weighed down with it, stressed and worried about it.
Con.
And that's where we would be. We live.
Let's go.
And sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day.
Man, these are evil people. I'm trying to tell you, this is ridiculous, but let's go.
But Yeshua answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work.
His father do what?
Working
So
hitherto.
he giving them full understanding of who's really operating right now. My father working right now. So do I.
Con. Therefore, the Jews sought more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then answered Yeshua and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth. And he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel.
That ye may marvel. Okay? Mark chapter 3, verse 1. I'll read it.
Con.
Mark chapter 3, verse 1 reads, And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand. And they watched him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he said to the man, which had the withered hand, Stand forth. And he said unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? Right? Check it out. back to which I'm with the Maccabees, right? Is it lawful to save life or to kill? Defending ourselves and our family, our nation, is saving a life, right? So it's lawful. To kill means that you start war, right? If someone try to take your life, like I said, that's lawful to kill them if it came to it, right? They're trying to kill you, you kill them. That's the law, okay? But they held their peace. No, they could never really come back to Christ because He made them think. I was trying to tell y'all, make these people think. Learn from your big brother. Learn from your teacher. He made the people think. Right? It says, verse 5, and when he had looked around about on them with anger, so they angered Christ. And those who thought Christ was this little weak dude, he got angry too at these people. But he didn't sin. Follow the law. Be angry, but do not sin. And in verse 5, and when he had looked around about on them with anger, being grieved for their hardness of their hearts, that's why they could not recognize the power of the Most High operating. The hardness of their hearts. He said unto the man, stretch forth thy hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with them. I know it is. I know how to pronounce it. The straightway. Not even recognizing what he did. They just gone. Satan has these people in full control, trying to destroy the Most High seed. Okay? It's crazy. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians. How you say that? Herodians. Thought you said. Against him, how they might destroy him. Wow. Is it not true that there be enmity between Satan's seed and Israel? Do y'all see that? Hostility, hatred. John 7, verse 14.
The book of John, chapter 7, verse 14.
I hear something boiling over there. Oh, okay. Don't worry. Don't nothing burnt up. Ready to throw that. Ready to throw that. No. I'm getting to the gym 2 days.
The book of John, chapter 7, starting at verse 14. Slide that flip one more page. Chapter 7, verse 14, and it reads, now about the midst of the feast, Yeshua went up into the temple and taught. And the Jews marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned?
That's what I was saying earlier. Men don't teach men. The Most High does. Like, how does this man know? He went to our schools. You get it? Let's get it.
Verse 16. Yeshua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his
doctrine is not his. Right? So this is why the Most High spoke from heaven to the company that was around Christ when he got baptized. He said, this is my son, this is my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. Because at this time in the land was nothing but false doctrine. Same thing in our day. In our land, there's nothing but false doctrine. Great parallel, right? That new Christ time, our time. The Most High sent the young man to preach the gospel, who had the truth. He used a young man right now to teach the gospel, the truth. All these old pastors who've been in church 40 years, I'm sorry. Most High wasn't using y'all. He put the bad out first so we understand what the good was. So it's time for them to recognize that they can't despise youth when it comes to the Spirit. Okay, using young men with vigor to spread his gospel. Not saying he don't use some of them who has repented and turned back, but his spirit is dwelling in these youths. Okay? Let's go.
Verse 17.
Because what happens with that, right? I'm sorry, but I gotta say this part. Let's say I'm a pastor for 50 years. What did that do for me?
Puff you up.
That puffed me up like I know something. That's why the brother brought the scripture, let not he that's wise, no, trust in that. Think that you're wise. You're not wise. You don't know nothing. So you say you're stuck in your ways. I've been doing this 50 years. This. It ain't about you. Yeah.
It's my church.
50 years in vain. It ain't about you. You know what I'm saying? But let's go.
Verse 17. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine.
If any man will do the Most High will, the Most High will teach him this doctrine. Let's go.
Whether it be of God or whether I speak of myself. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, but he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keep it the law?
So he said, none of you keep the law. Go ahead.
Why go ye about to kill me?
The Bible says thou should not kill. What did he do? Serve the death. Even a Gentile recognized that he didn't deserve to die. How could these people who say they know Moses' law not recognize it? Right? Because the heart is of their hearts. A Gentile washed his hands clean of Christ. Said, I find no fault in this man. He keep talking, I'm going to convert to be a Christian. But his own brethren found false art with their brother because they was ruled, compromised by Satan. Okay? Being used as a tool, misguiding his people. Okay? Just like today. So let's go.
Verse 20. The people answered and said, Thou hast a devil, who goeth about to kill thee. Who goeth about to kill thee?
So they gave the power and the glory to the Most High. They gave it to the devil. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's go to Acts. Where we at?
Okay, 24. Yep.
Yeshua
answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and ye all marvel. Moses therefore gave unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers. And ye on the Sabbath day circumcise a man. If a man on the Sabbath day receive circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken, are ye angry at me, because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day?
Christ make them think. You can circumcise brother any day, but y'all circumcising brothers on the Sabbath, saying you're trying to keep the law of Moses. But you're mad at me because I made a man whole? Let's go.
Verse 24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
There you go. Let's go. Acts.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verses 14 through 16. One more time, the book of Acts, chapter 13, verses 14 through 16.
And this is showing that after Christ was crucified and went back to heaven, the apostles would follow the commandments of Christ by keeping the Sabbath, keeping it in holy convocation, keeping the holy days. Let's go.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, and verse 14. But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia, and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down.
See there? Holy convocation. Let's keep going.
And after the reading of the law, And the prophets, the rulers of the synagogue, sent unto them, saying, Ye men and brethren, if ye have any word of exhortation for the people, say on.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Verse 42.
16.
Oh, 16.
Yep, verse 16. Then Paul stood up and beckoning with his hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear God, give audience.
Let the Spirit speak, okay? Verse 42.
Verse 42. And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath.
So it's showing you the custom of the Jews, right? The holy convocations are on the Sabbath, the seventh day. But let's keep going.
Now when the congregation was broken up, many of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of Ahia. And the next Sabbath day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of the Most High.
Acts 15, verse 21. Showing that the Most High does not change. He says the seventh day, and that's what it is throughout the whole Bible. 15, verse 21, book of Acts.
The book of Acts, chapter 15 and verse 21. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath.
Every Sabbath. The law has been read in the gathering places of the Most High. Every Sabbath. Okay? Acts 16, 13.
The book of Acts, chapter 16 and verse 13. And on the Sabbath we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither.
Again, showing the apostles follow the commandments of Christ. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 9. Almost done. Last four precepts.
Chapter 4. Hebrews what, 4?
Hebrews chapter, the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 9.
Now, okay, we talked about the Sabbath being a day of rest, right? It has a higher. Okay, we talked about the Sabbath day being a day of rest, right? But it has a higher meaning to it, right? The Most High has his men out laboring, doing the work for him, right? We read stories from a lot of them. Paul, Peter, Ezekiel, Isaiah. They labored for the Most High. They're in a rest right now. Okay? There's a rest that comes to those who laboriously do this work, and there's another rest that comes. Okay? Just take note to what I just said, okay? When the Most High, when the servant of the Most High has fulfilled the will that the Most High, the purpose that the Most High had for that servant, he gives him rest. Right? So he may have lost his life, but now he's resting, waiting for the ultimate rest. Okay? But let's go.
The book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 9. Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 9.
So Paul says, there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. So there still remains a rest for the people of God. Let's find out what that is. Revelation chapter 6, verse 9 through 11. Here's the first application, what I was referring to. Okay? Revelation chapter 6, verse 9 through 11. And when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High, and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Ahijah, how holy and true, doest thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. That's the rest I was talking about. It's all tied into the Sabbath. Okay? The Sabbath is foreshadowing many things. It's not just that day. Now, let's come to the one more application with this, and then we get to the other rest. Okay? In that year of millennium that you was talking about, brother.
Right.
Okay? I'm gonna read out the annotated apocrypha. Chapter 7, verse 94 to 96. Second Ezra. I missed the scriptures up. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It says, the third order, they see the witness, that's about those who have died righteously, okay? They're in their chambers, protected by angels and found peace and quiet, resting. The third order, they see the witness that he who formed them bears concerning them, that throughout their life they kept the law which they were entrusted. See, the Most High entrusted his servants with his law. The fourth order, they understand the rest that they now enjoy, being gathered into their chambers and guarded by angels in profound quiet, and the glory awaiting for them in the last days. Okay? Now, here we go. Last precept. Isaiah chapter 14. Most High gives a servant rest, okay? When they have fulfilled what he purposed for them, awaiting the glory that he has prepared for them. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 3 through 7.
Yep. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verses 3 through 7. And it reads, And it shall come to pass in the day that Ahijah shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear.
See, from that fear, there'll be no one oppressing us. There'll be no one seeking to destroy us. Right? This is part of the meaning of salvation. We'll be to worship our God without fear. Okay? No more being oppressed. No more toiling for nothing. Let's go.
And from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Ahijah hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and quiet. They break forth into singing.
That's the rest I'm looking forward to. Okay? With that concludes the lesson. Anyone have any questions or comments before we break bread? So we all know the functional happening, right? Can before we break bread, before we close out in prayer, I'm just going to call around, okay? And I would like, if y'all will, give me 2 ways we're supposed to properly function on Sabbath, my sister.
two ways to profit reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Praise and worship,
Mm-hmm.
and cease from doing your earthly
So,
TV.
okay, thank you.
Don't do your will, but do what I do, like, don't let it pleasing to yourself.
Don't do your will, don't do anything pleasing to yourself. Praise and worship, and don't do any your earthly duties. Right?
And read.
And read. Yes.
Treat this day special.
Speak up.
Treat this day special than any other day.
Treat this day more special than any other day. Okay. What else?
Give them all the praise.
And give them all the praise. Bro.
Rest in,
Rest and
I got it, rest in, think of the things that he's done for you, meditate on our Father, how you,
meditate on our Father, how you the wonderful things He has done for us.
yes.
Endure you. Who? Reflect on the scriptures. Just rest and think about the Most High. Y'all taking answers that's already given. Come up with another one. There was a lot of thou should nots through the course of the lesson. Thou shalt not do any pleasure. Okay. Tony.
Can I read?
Tony.
I was gonna resurface the question, Mike.
Go ahead.
Either two things to do on the Sabbath, or a thing to do and a thing not to do, or two things not to do,
So one of each. How about that?
or one of each kind. One something to do that you are commanded to do on the Sabbath, and something you're not commanded to do on the Sabbath.
That's good. Thank you.
Sis, back to sis.
You can't go out and chop wood and start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Do good on the Sabbath.
Do good.
If somebody, I don't know if somebody is sick, have they can go visit the sick on the Sabbath.
Okay. Brother.
Thou should not partake in anything that's pleasing this world.
You see you saying the same thing somebody else said.
Pretty much everybody said that one, but,
There's a bunch of them left out there.
Let me get my.
You next.
I'm gonna draw a blank. I just had two of them on there for yourself. We talked about physical labor. We shouldn't do any physical labor. It's a definite tip, right?
Okay. Thou shalt not do any work.
You work up there, and one of the good things we should do, thou should meet with the family so we can feast.
Mike.
No buying or selling.
No buying or selling.
And he took my own complication.
Little man got an answer. Hey, stretch it. Nobody thought.
Let's see, no manner of work allowed.
Say that one.
No, say that?
Yep.
No carrying, no burden.
No carry, no burden.
No cooking.
No cooking.
Okay, you can dance before the Lord, you can sing and praise.
You can sing and dance before the Lord. My man. Anybody else? That's it.
No relations with your spouse.
No relations with your spouse.
No fasting.
And no fasting.
Mm.
So that's Serena. Thank you.
Don't cause anyone else to break the Sabbath.
Don't cause, thank you. Don't cause anyone else to break the Sabbath.
And
Okay. So while if y'all answer, just want to do a little review, so y'all pay attention. Okay. Let's close the prayer.